Hi folks, Speedway Tag here. Just another bit of a retro video. Cosmic Encounter, of course, one of the most loved games in this whole board gaming genre and within the community. So many people's favorite game of all time. Amazingly, the first edition came out in 1977. A couple more in the mid-80s, but I want to shine a light on one of the editions of Cosmic Encounter that doesn't get much love, and that's the 1991 Mayfair edition. This was the base game that came out in 91, and then they produced an expansion called More Cosmic Encounter, and I've included that in this video, all the contents of that. There was a third one that was called, I think it was called simply Cosmic Encounter, which was a pared down version just for beginners. But what you'll see here is that this Mayfair version from 1991 plus its expansion, More Cosmic Encounter. Explaining how Cosmic Encounter works on a video these days is kind of like doing a video on chess, right? Explaining how chess works. But nonetheless, if you are new to Cosmic Encounter, let me just say very briefly that this is a alien space themed game. And what you're doing is you are representing an alien race, and you are trying to colonize other planets. And when you can colonize 5 planets outside your own system, you're going to win. This is the basic setup of the game. Now, these are fantastic hexes, and each hex has got 5 planets on it with 4 of your ships on each planet. So if I'm the, let's say I'm the orange player. So that's my colony of planets, and if you have a look here, each one of the hexes actually interconnect with one another with the warp in the middle. Each colony is represented by one particular alien race, and I happen to be the zombies. This person is representing the losers. This person is representing the sorcerers, and this person here is representing the traders. Okay, what those alien powers do, it's so common today in board games, but back in 1977 it was quite new. They're just your special ability that you have that no one else has for the game. And in Cosmic Encounter, those special abilities are really designed to break the rules in your favor that no one else can. So that's the benefit of controlling an alien power. But the crux of the game is that each person has a hand of cards. So this is my hand of cards right there. And the way a turn goes, the first thing, if it's my turn, I'm going to flip this destiny pile, and that's telling me that on my turn my attack is going to be against the purple player. So I'll put that there as a discard. I'll get the space cone. I'll point it at one of the purple player's planets. I'm going to populate the interstellar cone with a couple of my ships from wherever I'd like them to come from. And then we're going to have a challenge based on the cards in our hands. Okay? And so let's say you would play these cards. You'd pick a card, you'd play it face down. This person picks a card, plays it face down, and we flip them over, and I've played a 17 attack. This person has played a 12 attack. We add the ships that we have in our challenge to our totals here. So mine is 17 plus 3 ships, so I'm 20. This person is 12 plus 4 ships, which is 16. I'm going to win that challenge. So that means I move my ships onto her planet, and all of hers disappear into the warp. She can get them back later with various powers and abilities and special effects, but that's how a very, very basic turn goes. I now occupy that planet, and I'm 1 on the way to getting my 5 that wins the game. All right, so that's the very basic turn and the purpose and the projection of the game. Now, during that challenge, a whole heap of other things can happen. Obviously, the alien power that you are controlling will affect what happens in that challenge. For example, the trader is allowed to trade hands with me. So before I even play my card, he's going to use his power, or she's going to use her power to swap hands with me. So I lose all my cards, I get theirs, and then I have to play from there. So that's very annoying, but it's most of these powers, you know, cause quite an upheaval. The sorcerer's power is going to switch the played card. So you notice how when I played the 17 here like that, and my opponent played the 12, if my opponent's alien was the sorcerer, they can then switch these two cards, and all of a sudden their card becomes mine and mine becomes theirs, which is also very frustrating but strategic and fun as well to see how that plays out. The loser's power is the lower total wins. So if I was playing up against the loser in that challenge that I just demonstrated, I would actually lose, because the lower his power is the lower total wins. So you can see how that automatically now throws things into the mix. Also, as you can imagine, there are things in your hand other than just attack cards with numbers on them. There are special ability cards like edicts, which have game effects. The Cosmic Zap Edict is well known and famous, because a Cosmic Zap Edict, if you play it, and this tells you at what stage in the game you can play it, and that actually cancels the alien power of your opponent from working. So if the trader tried to trade hands with me and I go Cosmic Zap, we're not going to be trading hands. Okay, there's also compromise cards in your hand, where if you kind of sure that you're not going to be able to beat your opponent based on the cards you have, you might have low attack cards, you can play a compromise card instead, which is kind of giving up, but you get to get compensation for losing that challenge. So you might get cards from their hand and so on. So that's always a good option. If both players play compromise cards, you go back to your own planets, and you have to make a deal based on the various game processes, and you have to come up with a deal in a short period of time, otherwise you're going to lose stuff. And this keeps going and going, and eventually, as I said, whoever's got 5 planets outside their system at any time wins automatically. I mentioned the warp. The warp is where your tokens go when you lose challenges, but there are things that you can get your tokens back from the warp. For example, at the start of your challenge, you automatically get 1 token back. There are edict cards as well, like Mobius Tubes, which releases all tokens from the warp, and so on. But that's basically how the game goes. Now let me just show you what's in this 1991 version of Cosmic Encounter that might be a bit different. First of all, the hexes look very different to what came out in 1977 and then in the 80s as well. They're smaller, but they've got color on them. The other hexes didn't have color on them, so they look really good. The Destiny Pile, the card that you flip up to see who you're attacking, in the original used to be just flat plastic cardboard discs, but now they're actually really a nice deck of cards. And it can add things in this version to the Destiny Pile, like comets. And if you turn up one of these things, also has different effects on the challenge that's just about to be played. So if I flipped up a card there and it was a comet, I do what the comet says. And that says on this one, for example, Tenacious Defense. If the defensive player plays an attack card from 1 to 10, double its value before calculating other card effects. Okay, and so that ability and effect applies for that challenge. So whole stack of comet cards in this version. There's also these other special effects that can get mixed into the Destiny Pile, which, similar to comets, actually tell you, instead of showing you a color to attack, it gives you another reason to attack someone. So these are really good too. Some other challenge cards that might turn up in your hand when you're playing. One might be kickers. Okay, these did eventually come out in the expansions to the 1977 original version. But kickers can be placed along with your challenge card at face down, and secretly multiplies your challenge card, and the other person doesn't know about that. Reinforcement cards was something new with this version of Cosmic Encounter. They're things that you could play after the cards have been revealed. So if this was the challenge and I've played the 17 and my opponent's played the 12, if my opponent had a 5 reinforcement card in their hand, they can suddenly whack that down at that point and suddenly we're equal. Okay, so reinforcement cards get played after the challenge cards are revealed, and that was something new to this version of the game. And then we also have a whole stack of edict cards. Remember, I told you that these were just various effects, one-time effects, often that will come into your hand to play. And there's a couple of new ones here: Sanity and Breach. I think Warp Break might be a new one in this as well. So there's a couple of new edicts in here, and of course the cards look a little bit different, even though the backs are pretty much the same as what was in the Eon 1977 version, but a few more edicts. And then of course you've got flare cards. There's a flare card for every single alien in the game, and I'll show you all these aliens in a minute. But for each one there's a flare card which has a special ability, and a super flare which, if you match it with the same alien, you get a super ability. And so these get mixed in to the deck that you draw from. You get 7 cards to start, and you don't replace your cards until you've actually used all of them. So you have to use all 7 before you can draw another hand of 7 from this deck, which will be sitting there somewhere. So this deck, sorry, the challenge deck. But as I said, the flare cards get mixed into the challenge deck and give you even more effects and abilities that have a impact on the game. These are the rule books that came in this version. That's actually the more Cosmic Encounter rule book. There's the base game rule book, and of course Mayfair. I've still got the original Mayfair catalog that came with the 1991 version as well. Everything is well explained. There's a good attempt at trying to make this game a 2-player game. Everybody knows that it does not work well for 2 players, but Mayfair actually really tried. I think it's in the back of the more Cosmic Encounter rulebook. Can't find it right now, but it's a decent attempt to try and allow the game to be played for 2 players. You'll notice here those icons, like that, and they appear on the edicts right there at the top. This is something new, and they also appear on the aliens there. Okay, so an alien has the picture of the alien on the front, and on the back the explanation of what it does. And new to this edition, it has an icon there that tells you at what stage in the turn this can be played, which is really helpful, because back in the old days, sometimes you'd have a few arguments as to who can play what and when and before who or after who and so on. But let me talk about the aliens in this one as well, and then I'll show you the last couple of things that came in this box back in 1991. Let's have a look at the aliens. The artwork has changed dramatically from what you would be used to in the original, but here they are. Healer, Gambler, Bully, Worm, Void, Mutant, Mind. Who's that? Is that Extortionist? That is Extortionist. The Delegator, Lloyd, Rack, Butler, Antimatter, Warpish, Diplomat, Plant, Prophet, Pacifist, Machine, Hertz, Aura. Go up there to Filch and Disease, Negator and Fungus, Filth, Boomerang, Visionary, Grudge, Vacuum, Warrior, Changeling, Reincarnator, Calculator, Doppelganger, Magnet, Ethic, Parasite, Deuce, Silencer, Schizoid, Assessor, Seeker. Then we've got Dictator, Crystal, and Insect, Miser, Will, Pirate, Sniveler, Terrorist, Demon, Force, Judge and Siren, Witch, Assassin, Dragon, Skeptic, Mesmer, Aristocrat, Clone, Oracle, Laser, Amoeba, Macron, Kronos, the famous Virus, Empath, Vulch, and Philanthropist. Already you could probably tell that this is not the same style of artwork that we're used to with Cosmic Encounter. At least when this came out, we'd been playing the original version all those years, at least most of us had. And when this artwork came out, it was a little bit confronting. It's like a new version of your favorite movie coming out with characters that you don't really care for that much, but you love the movie so much you're just interested to see how they do it in a different way. And that's how I approach this artwork. I'm just interested in how they're doing it a different way. Most of the time, their choices are probably not better than what was on the original. For example, Mesmer's a case in point here. Where's Mesmer? There's Mesmer. If you remember what Mesmer was like, a real alien-looking sort of creature. Mesmer's very different here and not great. But there are a couple of good ones. I love the original witch, but that witch is good too. Sometimes they go just with the action as opposed to the alien itself. So Judge has got his gavel instead of actually having a look at a picture of Judge. Macron here, kind of okay. You remember the sort of real old style 60s sci-fi looking Macron that we used to have. Philanthropist is pretty cool, I think. Similar sort of octopus style creature to the original. But you know, they're a terrorist is just got a picture of the bomb itself as opposed to the alien that sort of, I don't know, what was it like? It was almost like a Wookiee, all right, in the original. And then you've got Silencer, which is disappointing. It's a person saying shush, where the great snake of Silencer, you'll never forget that. Looks so wonderful. Calculator also ends up being one of these nerdy guys, right? Who sits at the front in class, but Calculator was so much greater before. And yeah, look, we could go on like this and trash this artwork, but not all of it's bad. It's different, and it's just a different experience altogether. The beauty of this version, though, they did give us about 25, 27 maybe new aliens. So we got Gorgon. And what does Gorgon do? Gorgon, you have the power to petrify. Any other player's tokens that share bases with you cannot be removed from those bases for any reason except to go to the warp. Great power. Sting. Okay, Sting is you have the power to substitute. Whenever you lose tokens involuntarily, you may designate another player to lose them instead, and so on. A lot of these new aliens that came up here in this Mayfair version, most of them I think have now surfaced in the current Fantasy Flight version of Cosmic Encounter. I'm pretty sure of that. Symbiote and Berserker, Serpent and Ghost. Sorry for the shine here. Vampire is a really great alien. I love playing Vampire. I thought this was a great addition to the game. You have the power to enslave. When you win a challenge as a main player, do not send opposing tokens to the warp. Rather, take the tokens and invert them, keeping them as your own. Fantastic. The Entrepreneur, the Obverse, Q, Busybody, Prolong. Okay, this is one that can extend challenges, obviously. Spiff. Look at that artwork. Spiff has the power to crash land. Whenever you are the offensive player in a challenge, both players play attack cards and you lose by a total of 10 or more, you take one token you would otherwise lose to the warp and place it on the winning defensive player's planet. One thing I did forget to mention that in just the basic turn is when I do choose to attack an opponent's system, I'm able to invite allies. So the blue and the red player are allowed to join with me and help me attack that colony of purple. And I get the base, but if they've helped me, they get various various positive results for them as well. And equally, the defensive player, the purple player, can also invite allies too. So this is with Cosmic Encounter, as you all know, there's this constant teaming up and against others and making plans and deals and committing to agreements amongst the players because of that allied function as well. Mirror. These, I'm just going through the last few new ones. Pavlov, look at the dog there. The Wraith, the Industrialist, the Gnome, Pentaform. Love that picture. Has 5 life stages. That's a real interesting power to play. Grief, Reserve, Chosen. Takes a new challenge card. I like this one. You have the power of divine intervention. After revealing challenge cards, you may discard yours and replace it with the top card of the challenge deck. Okay, you get the picture. If you've never played Cosmic Encounter, you get the picture how much these alien powers change things up. The Cavalry, Subversive, Anomaly, Connoisseur, and the Phantom has ghost tokens. So those are the new aliens that come in this to play with. What they also did was, thankfully, they in the more Cosmic Encounter expansion, okay, they also brought back the moons and Luca. Luca is a currency that was introduced in expansion 6 in the original game. The moons were introduced in expansion 5, and they've brought them back here for this one as well. The moons look really great. They're harder cardboard as opposed to those thin little ones we got back in, I don't know when it was, 1980 or so. And now the moons, there are 4 different kinds. There's the quarter moon, the half moon, the full moon, and the cheese moon. Varying levels of difficulty and effectiveness. And the cheese moon is just for silly things, which Cosmic Encounter has always had. That's a tongues moon. Each player must speak in rhyme whenever speaking, and so on. But these moons are placed in the original game. I can't remember if it's done like this in this one or not. But you get 2 of them, and you place them. You place them here in your colony. And they're also things that the opponent players can attack, and you can attack as well. Whoever occupies a moon gets to use its ability. And they're kind of like little mini alien powers, really. So there's another 100-odd moons there, which are kind of like another 100 aliens when you really think about it. The Luca has been changed up a little bit here, the way it's used, and I think for the better from what it was before. We also, on the back of these, and here the other... Here are the colors of the hexes. On the back of them, on the back of these hexes, are alternate hexes and alternate setups, right? Each one of these has a different one. And so this one here is called Space Dust, and this one here is called Binary, and the other ones are mentioned here. Okay, World Ships, Rings, Rosette, and the Gas Giant as well. And these change the way you set up your ships at the start of the game, and how the ships actually and the planets interact for the rest of the game. For example, with the rings set up, you'll be setting them up on the rings, in the Space Dust, or let's say the Gas Giant. All your tokens just go flooding into this one huge planet instead of 5 different ones, and so on. Really, really changes the game. I haven't played these that much over the years, but I've always been meaning to. And so, yes, these came out in a very late expansion in the original game, but they've been reproduced here really well by Mayfair. I hope that gives you an idea of what the Mayfair version was like. There's so much more to Cosmic Encounter. There's so many more things in these decks. Each flare card changes things up so much. The allying mechanic changes or creates such a social, interactive game. The compromise cards and having to make deals also encourages a lot of discussion and talk and joking around. But at the base of it, I think this version probably gets an unfair rap. I think it's a pretty good version. The artwork might not be your cup of tea, but I played this version a ton when it came out in 1991. So anyway, I hope that gives you a good indication of what this version of Cosmic Encounter was like. See you next time.